All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the fifth episode now of Elder Zoomers Gaming Guild podcast. And we have a special guest with us today, Ethan. How's everyone doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Got myself a
Good.
PS5. Can't complain.
Yeah. Hey, good stuff. Good stuff. It's unfortunate that PS5s are still a little hard to come by, but we're actually going to be talking a little bit about that today, so I'm excited to dive into
Yeah.
that. Um, so one of the first topics I wanted to get to today, I believe it was yesterday or the day before, God of War, which was formerly only on PlayStation, actually was released on PC. Um, and I think this is actually pretty cool because it's something that Sony's been doing recently. They've started releasing their exclusives onto PC. They did it first with, I believe, Horizon Zero. No, actually, I think it was Days Gone. Then it was Horizon Zero Dawn, and Uncharted is coming, I think, next month. Uncharted
Oh
4
wow.
and The Lost Legacy. So
Yeah. I
they
know they
they're
also did Final Fantasy as well. Final Fantasy 15 came to PC semi recently. I don't know
yeah.
about second though. I don't know about the
Was it
remake.
15 or was it the remake?
15 is on PC. I have it on PC. I
Okay.
think that came out about a year ago. I could be wrong.
Okay, because I
I don't
think the
know.
Final Fantasy VII remake came to PC recently as well. Um,
I didn't know Final Fantasy was an exclusive.
the
Yeah.
remake for Final Fantasy VII was exclusive to PlayStation 4, and then they re-released on PlayStation 5 as well, and I think it's now on PC also.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and Final Fantasy 15 as well, I think is also on PC.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Sony's been doing that, and I think it's kind of a smart strategy because, like with the case of Horizon Zero Dawn, the game released in 2017, I believe, on the PlayStation 4. It was exclusive to the console for a few years, and then they put it on PC. And the way I see it, Sony's probably thinking, hey, well, everyone who has a PlayStation that wanted to play the game has probably already bought it and played it, so may as well
Yeah.
double dip, put it on the PC market so
Yeah.
that they can make more money
Yeah.
off it. It makes sense, and
Yeah.
God of War released in 2018, so it's been almost 4 years, and
Yeah.
now they're gonna
That
do
was
the
four
same thing.
years
They're
ago.
gonna,
Good God.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
wait, that's a
right.
long time.
You
Oh,
know, yeah, time flies, right?
it
Um,
casually make me feel old as hell. Jesus.
yeah. I remember I had actually pre-ordered that game, and they actually released it on April 20th, which was kind of just like a running gag.
That's funny. Yeah.
But I was actually at UC Davis when it released, and so I ended up picking up my copy like a couple days later after it came out. And I remember so many people talking about it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like I want to play this game, but I wasn't home to pick up the pre-order."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic game, Nico. I know you've played it. Ethan, have you played God of War?
I haven't. I never got into the franchise, but I know they're supposed to be really good. It's just one of those things that I never like hopped onto the bandwagon sort of thing. So now I just feel too far removed from it.
Yeah. Well,
Dude, I never played the entire series. I started
Mhm.
with the 2018 God of War.
Yeah.
Holy shit. You can jump
Is it
in
really
right
good?
there and no prior
yep.
experience. It is so good.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll
that's
check it out then,
yeah.
especially if
That's
they're releasing it on PC.
I'm a
that's
big story
actually what I
guy, but
was.
the gameplay was great too.
Mm. Okay.
Honestly, almost I don't want to compare it to Dark Souls, but
Hmm.
think like that kind of style action RPG where you're like fighting really
Yeah.
good bosses. Some of them are
Okay.
kind of reused, but
Yeah.
the Valkyrie fights, oh my god, that is
Okay.
Dark Souls level.
Those are fun. The thing about God of War, and they were pretty smart with what they did with this newest release, is so I
Hmm.
actually played through the whole series before this new one came out, thinking that oh, I'm gonna know everything that's going on, and it's kind of a soft reboot. Like they
It
very
is.
briefly mention the previous games, but it's not important at all. You can totally dive into this
Okay.
game as your
Cool.
first time playing a game in the series, and you're not
Nice.
going to get lost at all. And the gameplay is totally different too.
Yeah.
The cameras, it's over the shoulder versus like more like from the
Fixed
camera was just a
camera,
lot.
so you're moving around. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Okay.
was just a
Yeah.
lot farther away.
Yeah.
Um,
Nice.
but yeah, so it's definitely definitely different. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think it's great that it's coming to PC, and I think a lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
are gonna finally get to play it.
Yeah.
And Sony's going to get more money off the game. So hey, more, from a business perspective, it works out really
Oh
well in their
yeah.
favor. And I
Yeah, I think
hope
that's really smart.
and I hope Sony continues to put, after a few years, after they've made their money off the game on consoles, they continue to put them to PC because, more people that get to play the
Yeah.
game, the better. I think that
Yeah.
always works out in their favor. Um, one of the other topics I had here, so Stalker 2 was going to be a PC and Xbox exclusive game. Was supposed to come out within the next couple months, I believe. And
Mm,
Stalker is a first-person shooter game. Takes place in
Okay.
like Chernobyl, that whole situation. And
hmm
so it was going to be kind of a big game for Xbox to kind of kick off the year. It is also on PC, but Microsoft owns both, so it's
Yeah.
kind of their thing. But it
Yeah.
got pushed to December 8th, which ironically enough was Halo Infinite's release date. So it kind of took
Huh.
that slot for this year.
Okay.
Um, I think that's kind of a big deal because all these companies want to have big games, especially at the start of the year, to kind of push
Oh
sales
yeah.
for their consoles. And Sony has Horizon Forbidden West coming out in February. So Stalker was kind of Xbox's big thing, but now that it's been pushed to the end of the year, I feel like now my Xbox doesn't really have like a big thing uh, coming out for the first part of the year. I know they have Redfall, and I think that's coming out in the summer, but it's things are a little dry until then.
hmm
But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think Xbox is gonna have? I mean, do you think that's gonna be a big deal to them, or do you think they're gonna find some kind of third party deal to kind of smooth it over, or um,
I feel like Xbox is just kind of used to not having exclusives or like big,
this is true.
console selling games
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah, they. I mean,
Yeah.
They'll
they
be
had.
okay, but like, it's probably not going to be great for their wallets.
Yeah.
Yeah. They. I mean, they had Forza 5 in November, or Forza Horizon 5 in November, and then they had Halo Infinite in December. So they had two really big games. At the end of
Yeah.
the year, really strong, and then now it's like, yeah, they're kind of going to be on a drought for a little bit. I mean, they have Game
Yeah.
Pass, and they're always adding new stuff in there. So I think that kind of gives them enough. I think their name gets put, it makes headlines enough to where they can probably be like, oh, this is okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I think it is a little bit of a blow to them.
I
But
think that will be supplemented a little bit by the fact that they're, pushing out the Series X a lot faster than PS5s.
yeah,
Just
oh yeah, I
because,
agree.
I feel like there are definitely some people that at this point just want like a next gen console.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of gonna put aside their preferences and just go with whatever's accessible. Because I mean, I walked into a store like I think it was a Target like 3 days ago or something, and there was literally just an Xbox, like in the Target just available, and I
Really?
had to go. Yeah, I had to. It was just sitting there, like it was in it was locked up, of course, but
Yeah.
you
Was it
know,
a
I
Series
went and
S or was it an X? Do you know? Do you remember?
uh I didn't look that closely. I could not remember.
I'd be
But
really surprised if it was a
either
Series
way,
X. I have seen the S's a little bit more frequently. Like
Really?
they
yeah.
were
I,
earlier today. They were available on Amazon, and they had been available for
oh
like
wow.
a couple days. Like you could just buy one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, Microsoft has gotten better about making their consoles more widely available. Series X's are still a little tough to find, but the S's are
hmm
slowly becoming more available where you can just get one, which is good.
Yeah.
They definitely have a leg up on the PlayStation in that regard. PlayStation 5s are still insanely hard to get.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about, and this has been coming into the news a lot, and I don't really
hmm
know. I mean, I kind of know what they are, but I'm still a little bit like hazy on it. And I feel
The
like I've seen it on Twitter
NFTs?
almost every day. Is
Yeah.
NFTs.
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
NFTs are just like everyone's talking about them. Troy
Yeah.
Baker, I
They're
guess,
everywhere.
partnered with like an NFT company. If you guys don't know, Troy Baker does a ton of video game voices. He's pretty big
Okay.
in the gaming
Gotcha.
community, and he announced that he was partnering with some NFT company, and he just got like
Yeah.
slammed.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, I feel like NFTs have such a bad public view right now
Yeah.
because they're really bad for the environment. Like they're like people are already just kind of like have a negative connotation just due to the fact that they're like really just not good for the environment. But also, I don't know if you guys knew this, but like there have been NFT companies or like marketing companies that are exploiting like celebrities. Like Stan Lee's Twitter account was used to promote
No.
NFTs.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So a
Oh,
lot of
that's
people are really
fucked.
angry that they're like
Wow.
disgracing his legacy
Yeah,
by
that's
having
no
his
good.
Twitter account promote NFTs, which I think is like super fucked up.
That is
Yeah,
super fucked up.
his
Holy
account shouldn't
shit.
even be active anymore, I feel like.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. So
Yeah.
from what I understand of NFTs is that it's basically a digital product that you have
Hmm.
the rights to once you purchase it. And
Yes.
then if someone
Yeah.
else wants that, they have to buy it from you.
Yeah. They have to buy the rights from you.
Okay. So it could be
Yeah.
anything from
For
like a weapon skin in a video game or like a character
Fucking
that someone just
Ubisoft, I swear to God.
drew
I believe so.
like
Yeah.
that's
Um.
interesting because I've seen people buy them for like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like a meme or
So.
something like that. It's like, oh, I want the
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
rights to this, and then they spend like some
Yeah.
celebrity that's got cash to burn. They
Yeah.
just spend millions of dollars on some NFT, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why?
So I think I think there's a sort of like rarity system to it.
Uh-huh.
So, like the harder or like the more valuable or rare that an NFT is like viewed, obviously the more it's going to be worth. But
Hmm.
it's just really First of all, I think we should just get it out of the way and say NFT stands for non-fungible token.
Okay.
Um,
I knew it was
and
non-fungible something. I was like, I couldn't remember
Yeah.
what the P was.
yeah, so I think I was talking about this with I think Peyton the other day, and it's interesting because it's basically like non-fungible just means that there's no like inherent value. It's not a currency of
Hmm.
sorts. So
It
people
just
can just
basically
really
means it's like a
place whatever
thing.
value they want on it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's whatever price you want it to be.
Like a
exactly.
fucking this desk here is non-fungible. It's not a
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay.
It's like
So
an
you're
item.
setting its worth basically.
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So the
Yeah.
companies that are producing the NFTs, I believe, are just setting the value, and the value, I guess, is like what helps determine like how rare it is. To
Mm.
my understanding, that's how things work. So
Well, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I feel like with a lot of things, the more rare it is, the more money it's worth because
Yeah.
people are kind of
exactly, yeah.
setting their own price on it. Someone
Hmm.
decided that if you couldn't find a PlayStation 5 in store, it was worth like $1,000, which is stupid. But,
Exactly. Yeah.
and even more stupidly, some people have actually paid that.
Yeah.
Um, which I mean, I don't mean to offend anyone that did, but eventually you're going to be able to, something like that. Eventually you're going to be able to find it at retail price. It may take a
Yeah.
while, but you will. And with NFTs, I feel like this is something that could get very easily and very quickly abused, especially with
Oh, yeah.
with companies being so big on microtransactions. Um,
Hmm.
I feel
Ubisoft
like
already did it.
yeah. What was it specifically? Do you remember?
Yeah, so they had Ubisoft did uh like armor skins and I want to
Hmm.
say a weapon skin that was basically like a unique thing that would have like a serial number on it. So
Yeah.
like you could display like this is your
Oh.
skin and you could buy it from that player and it would like change like it would the tally would go up so it's like a new number so you know exactly how many players before you've had it. Like you could literally,
Okay.
the way
Oh.
they're marketing it is that you could literally like watch, I don't know, some esports player win a match using this skin and like
Hmm.
buy it off them. So you have that actual skin that they use
Yeah.
in the game.
But yeah, I feel like NFTs excuse me. I feel like NFTs are going to get pretty abused quickly
Yeah.
within the gaming market because people these big companies are going to find ways to make this desirable,
Hmm.
and people are going to probably set prices that aren't worth the money, and that could potentially cause issues. And what about like it's not refundable, right?
No.
So I mean, there's going to be an issue with that. And I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
it's such a new thing. Well, I mean, it's not that new, but it's
Yeah.
it's new enough to where we don't exactly know the ramifications of it. And I'll
I
be
feel like
honest,
it'd be easy to predict though, honestly.
Hmm.
I mean, we've
yeah,
seen how
oh
far
yeah,
they've gone with just microtransactions in
Oh yeah.
general.
oh absolutely, absolutely,
It's been abused to fucking hell, especially with loot
Hmm.
boxes and shit. Like this is
Yeah.
just the next step in that. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
honestly, if we do end up getting this model that Ubisoft is proposing and working toward, apparently, um, them being resellable to other players worries me because it could end up like the fucking skin market in CS:GO.
Oh, it's absolutely going to.
So I
Yeah.
don't know.
The
Yeah, okay,
thing.
so
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead, finish your thought, Ethan, but then also I do want to know
Yeah.
what like I'm not really educated about the whole CS:GO skin thing. So
Okay.
finish
Yeah.
your thought, but then I am curious to know if you guys can educate me on that.
Yeah.
You can take that
So,
question too. Go for it.
yeah, the thing is with the whole, having an individual like skin that's unique to you is I feel like they're gonna have to play it in a really weird way because, uniqueness only goes so far. Like if everybody's skin is unique, nothing's unique anymore.
Yeah.
So it'll be, I definitely think it'll be interesting because they're gonna have to kind of pull back on doing it, I think, because if it's just like a serial number or something and everybody's is different, like what's the point? Like
Yeah.
obviously there's the resale value of like, having like a pro player's serial that they used in like a game or something. But outside of that, if you just like get one for yourself, there's gonna not really be a realistic way to increase or decrease its value. So
I think
it's
it's gonna have to be like limited. Like they're only gonna
exactly,
let 500 people buy
exactly.
this, for example.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that will make it really
Um,
sought after, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah,
how did CS:GO kind of start off
yeah.
with that?
So, for CS:GO, there's like a pretty extensive. It's almost got like its own like stock market. It's really like
That doesn't
really
surprise me.
extensive. Yeah, it's because how the skins in CS:GO work is there's the skin which has its own rarity, and then it has another layer to that which is like condition.
Okay.
And so, if I get like a really rare skin, I think the highest tier is like red. I could be wrong. I never played that on CS:GO. But if I get like a red skin, its value is going to increase or decrease based on the condition of it as well. So I think it goes from battle scarred, which is like you there's a bunch of like tears in the skin, and it's not super clear, and looks like it's been battle scarred, like the paint is like super super messed up on it, and then all the way up to like factory new, which is like as clean as possible.
Hmm.
Like skin is like super clear, it's all there, it looks like a Call of Duty camo, that sort of thing. um and there are some skins and some like knife variants that go for an absurd amount of money. But
Okay.
then
Huh.
there's the like safer half of that, which is people can like buy and sell the crates, and you can buy keys to open them at like a flat rate. But people like buy and sell the crates that have specific items.
Wow, it's a very
So
elaborate
yeah,
thing
so
they
you can
have going.
take
Wow.
you
It
can
is
take
it
a
is like a whole
gamble.
stock market.
Yeah, you can take a gamble at like buying a crate and just like hoping you get something worth it, or you can just bite the bullet and pay however much for a specific skin that you want.
Mm.
um
Wow, and I
and
bet
I
that's made
have
them a lot of money.
oh,
Hmm.
absolutely, yeah, I have a friend that put like he used to be like really into this and put like literally thousands of dollars into just like
Jeez.
holding a specific crate because he like had a theory or a hypothesis that it was going to go up in value, and then just off of like the increased value he ended up making like at least $1,000 or something like that. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
yeah, because
Wow.
he bought like a truckload of those cases probably has like 5 or 6,000, I think. And they
Jeez.
they go from like, I don't even know, but I would guess anywhere from like, like 20 to 30 cents to maybe like $1.50, $2, something like that. And so
Oh,
there's
okay.
a lot of room there's like a decent amount of room for growth. And so if you buy however many quote unquote shares of a specific
Mm-hmm.
like crate or something, then you can just resell them once the value goes up and make a much profit. So
Okay, wow. Yeah, man. I feel like companies are gonna start looking at CS:GO and being like, "Hey, we could
yeah.
probably make some real money if we
Hell yeah.
created some sort of some sort of um example of this and put
Hmm.
into our game." I can't think of the word I was
The,
trying to
do the
think of, but
devs
Yeah.
take a cut of the resale or no?
Oh, I'm sure, because it's all through Steam Marketplace.
Oh, then
oh
probably.
There are
yeah, you'd
websites, I'm
imagine.
sure, but
Yeah.
I believe most of the like market activity happens on Steam. So
Mhm.
Oh yeah, and I know Steam gets a cut of pretty
oh
much
yeah.
everything that gets sold on there. So
Hmm.
Steam's probably raking in the money too. That's how
Making
they
out like a
probably
bandit.
Mhm.
that's probably how they funded all their Steam decks or whatever off of that.
Wow.
But yeah, wow, man. Okay, well, I'm glad you guys know more about this than I did because now I actually feel somewhat educated about what an NFT
Yeah.
is.
It's pretty
And
confusing.
yeah,
It's
well, like
very confusing.
I knew just like the extreme basics of it, and
Hmm.
that's it.
I mean,
um,
cryptocurrency is also pretty confusing, right? Because
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
like
and it
it
did
took
kind
me
of
a
seem like crypto a little bit to
it,
me.
it kind of is. They're definitely in the same ballpark, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like another layer added onto it, because I feel like with cryptocurrency, you're buying like a currency. It's almost,
Yeah.
it's like a stock. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to go up and down in value. It's just going to be
Yeah.
it's going to be quite a bit more exaggerated. Um,
Yeah.
I feel
but
like
then
the coding side
NFT,
of things, they're pretty similar though, right?
what's up?
NFTs and I feel like the coding side of things with NFTs and crypto is pretty similar, right? The blockchain
I
kind of
would think
thing.
so.
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, they're pretty much in the same ballpark. I think the marketing with NFTs though is that they bring like a unique sort of like, not tangible, but like a unique sort of sense of like ownership of something,
Mhm.
Whereas with like a cryptocurrency, it feels the same as like investing in a stock or like, owning, a set amount of like US dollars,
Right.
because you can just trade those
Mhm.
whenever you want.
Yeah. It's almost like those games. I don't know if it might be both Fantasy Star Online or Star Citizen, where people spend like they buy like plots of land like with like thousands
Yeah.
of real
Yeah.
money, and they buy like ships, and like they're not even available in the game yet, but it's almost
Uh-huh.
like you're like
Yeah.
buying something that will exist in the game at some point.
Hmm.
I mean, it's crazy how much money people can put into a video game. And I mean,
Oh
if you have
yeah.
cash to burn, then sure, why not? But like, I know
Yeah.
there was a ship. I think it was in Star Citizen. I get the two kind of mixed up, but
Hmm.
it was going for like $100,000, and
Oh
like,
wow.
and like people like someone bought it
That
and
is
was like, okay, now
crazy.
I'll have this ship when it becomes available in the game, and it's
Yeah.
like it it doesn't even exist yet. Like you're buying something, you're basically buying a concept.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The way I like to phrase the whole like NFT market, the way it makes the most sense to me, at least, is you're sort of like buying the idea of something, right? Like you're
Hmm.
buying the ownership to it, but there's nothing really that you gain. I mean, like companies have started making it so that like, you can buy an NFT that lets you get like a meet and greet or something, with like some celebrities that are promoting NFTs. But it's like, that seems like such a roundabout way of just buying a meet and greet. Like why wasn't that just the direct transaction?
Why don't you just go to a convention and just
Oh, who's
pay money to meet them or whatever the heck people
Exactly.
do?
someone? Some celebrities making a fucking show in NFTs, like an actual like animated
Oh
show. And I'm
God.
trying to remember. I think it was Mila Kunis. I
Oh,
don't remember who it was.
oh my gosh.
It's
They
just going
mentioned it
too
on
Hey,
a
if
far.
you
Hot
want to look
Ones.
that up, I will cover you. I will cover you.
They mentioned it on
That
a Hot
is,
Ones interview, which I thought was kind of interesting, but
yeah.
I
I
wonder if
mean,
this is just gonna be like a form of currency, like
that
for certain
looks,
things. I mean,
yeah.
obviously, it's not going to overtake like the U.S. dollar or
It's
crypto or something like that, but I
Yeah, it's
mean,
interesting to me because it almost feels
yeah,
like we're
it was
going
Mila Kunis.
backwards.
it was Mila Kunis, of course it was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah,
called
it,
Stoner Cats.
interesting.
It's
Oh, I feel like I've
8
heard that
million
name.
bucks.
I
Fuck.
feel like I've heard that name.
That does ring a
Uh,
bell.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Oh my gosh.
yeah, what I was trying to
Ugh.
say earlier was it almost
Mhm.
feels like we're going backwards, right?
Mhm.
Because, like a long, long time ago, our only form of like transactions were just trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, we got more civilized and, we made a bunch of developments. And then people realized it was like kind of inefficient to just trade everything directly because things have different values. And so that's why currencies were invented in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now it feels like we're just taking a step back again,
Mm,
and it's going from currencies, which can be used for anything, back to just like you can only trade an NFT for either some amount of money or like another NFT or something. It feels like we're going back to trade, which I find super
yeah.
backwards.
That is backwards. I mean, at least for now, at least for the most part, we have the option not to buy into these things.
Oh, absolutely. I will
And
not touch
I
that with a
personally
10-foot pole.
Either.
don't really
Yeah.
plan to, but I
Oh,
mean,
not a
sometime
shot.
down the road there might be certain things that you can only buy as an NFT.
Yeah.
Something that we may want. I mean, I don't think this will happen for a while. I hope it doesn't, but you never know. I mean, it's just the crazy direction that things are going, and it's
Yeah.
interesting that this is becoming very prominent, specifically in video games.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is what's really getting this off the ground.
Well, I sort of feel like crypto and
Crypto
all of
too. Yeah.
these like new sorts of like currencies and investments and shit that you can make have sort of been lingering around like the gaming community, right? Because I feel like is like a general kind of idea. It's viewed that like the gaming community is like pretty technologically savvy,
Mm.
and so
Yes.
I feel like they're marketing all of these like like ideas, like because for like I played a lot of League of Legends, but like
Mhm.
and I've bought skins, but skins don't really have any value outside of that skin. I can't trade it, but I
Yeah.
bought it knowing that, right?
Yeah.
I get use out of it, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
it's sort of that like same idea, right? You're just buying something to have it. And this is a little bit better because you can trade it and you can do other things with it. But
Mhm.
I feel like they're taking advantage of the fact that we are already kind of accustomed to systems like that where we don't really
Mhm.
get anything tangible.
Mhm. It's kind of just like the next evolution. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not
Yeah.
even really an evolution, but I mean, it's. I mean, like you said earlier, it is kind of a step backwards, but it's just it's a way that form of, if you even want to call it a currency,
Mhm.
can have more value, or an object can have more value, or a
I
personalized
Yeah.
actually
value.
I actually found it really interesting that you bring up that point, Ethan, because I never really thought about it like that. As a community, we're kind of used to, purchasing things that don't have a physical, tangible form.
Hmm.
And so this is just
Mhm.
kind of like taking advantage of that
Yeah,
mindset that we have.
we're
Yeah.
desensitized to it, so we don't really think
Exactly.
anything of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Hmm.
feel any different than it would be for me like buying a skin, because it's like
Yeah.
I'm already aware that I'm not really getting anything.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously some sort of value, but at the end of the day, like there's once I have it, that's all I get. You know there's
Yeah.
Yeah.
nothing that I like physically obtain. It's just sort of like my like game looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, and I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, you're playing a game and you want a skin. You're like, okay, that looks
Yeah.
cool. It's worth, a buck
Yeah.
50 or whatever to me to be able to wear that and get use
Yeah,
out of
exactly.
it, then yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you're giving money to,
Hmm.
I guess, the developer and or whatever marketplace, they're getting a little bit of that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you're paying mostly the developers specifically, and that's something
Yeah.
that a lot of people have access to. But
Hmm.
the NFT, it is more like trade where it's personalized, and this person,
Yeah.
only this person can have this thing, and that's where the lines become less blurred, and it's like, okay, this is like, it's similar and it kind of branches off to what we've been doing, but now it's
Hmm.
it's kind of taken on like a life of its own.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see where this all goes.
Definitely.
I
Like I
hope it
said.
doesn't turn out as bad as I picture it in my mind, but
Yeah.
because I mean,
We can only hope.
it could end up being just nothing, just rich people just continue
Yeah.
spending thousands of dollars on digital things.
Yeah. I mean,
um,
like I said at the start, I think at the end of the day, this is all just gonna come back to this stuff just being like really bad for the environment.
yeah,
And so I think,
It's unsustainable as it is right now.
oh yeah,
yes,
no, it's
absolutely.
yeah, it's really bad. And so I think that's what it's gonna come down to, is they're either gonna need to find a way to make this sustainable,
Mhm.
or it's gonna have to be cut off at some point, I'd imagine, because
Yeah.
personally, there's no way I would let the health of the earth take place after owning an NFT.
Yes. Yeah, well,
So
and a lot of people have been fighting like back on it too. Like
yeah,
we were talking about Stalker 2 earlier, and that game did announce it was going to have some form of NFT, and
yeah,
people were
Fucker,
really quick
why?
yeah,
to rage about it on
yeah,
Twitter and other social medias,
as they
and the
should.
developers actually went back and they were like, okay, never mind, we're not going to do this.
Yeah, good.
And it was like, okay,
Yeah,
well, at least there are people that are kind of fighting against this and at least slowing it, slowing
yeah.
its development. So
I'm definitely happy about that.
In the
yeah, I mean,
gaming space, that's the norm. Like Ubisoft got an insane amount of backlash when they announced their shit.
Yeah,
mhm,
Outside of the gaming sphere, I don't think many people care
hmm,
or they're actively promoting it. Like,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, and I think I mean, the what's always been really interesting to me about the gaming community is that people have a voice so
Mhm.
much more. If you don't want a
hmm,
movie to be made, or you don't like something that happens in a movie or whatever, there's nothing you can do about that.
yeah.
It is
That
what it is.
sucks.
But
well,
with
Sonic.
Yeah,
well,
I was
okay,
gonna say that's the
Sonic
one
is
example.
that is true. That
That's
is
the
true.
Well, that's a
exception.
gaming movie, though, right?
That's
No,
true. That's
yeah,
true.
yeah, it was a gaming movie, and I actually was planning. I didn't even care to see the movie, but I was gonna go see it
Hmm.
just because they actually listened to their audience
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
exactly. You
changed
got to
design
give
and
them
We
money
want
everything.
to
at
we
that
want to
point.
support that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course the COVID ended up happening,
Yeah.
and I didn't end up seeing the movie in theaters, but I mean, I think that's always been something very interesting about the gaming community, is that we have a voice, and we, if there's enough of us out there, we can actually force developers to change a decision, because at the end of the day, we are the ones buying their product.
Yeah.
Halo
Uh,
Infinite's backlash,
yeah, Halo. I
the
mean, look at how much
the
games have
legislation
evolved.
against fucking loot boxes that's
Oh
Oh
actually
yeah.
being
yeah.
passed in governments around the world. That's insane to
Yeah.
me.
Oh yeah, there are still like things coming about that, about loot boxes are considered gambling and it's against the
Yeah.
law in
Yeah.
certain countries, and it's like, it's crazy. We're slowly, the digital age is still kind of I mean, it's still a new thing, and
Yeah.
relatively speaking, and we're still adapting to it. And
Yeah. I mean,
NFTs is just another one of those things that
there's
it's
yeah.
something we're gonna have to adapt to.
Yeah. There's still so
Um,
much gray area.
yeah, yeah.
So
So I think this will be an interesting conversation to come back to. As time goes on, seeing how this all develops.
yeah.
I did have
Yeah.
one last topic I wanted to talk about tonight, and this is something that we kind of touched on it very briefly earlier, but so this was like a few months before the new generation of consoles came out, or was right around the time they were releasing.
Hmm.
Sony came out and said, we believe in console generations. We're not going to be, supporting the PlayStation 4 for a long time. And this was coming right off the heels of Microsoft, who had said we will be continuing to release games on the Xbox One a couple years after the Series X and S have released. And Microsoft got some praise for that, for being straightforward and being honest. And they also received some backlash because people are like, oh, putting the game on the older consoles, it kind of holds back, the graphics and things like that. Whereas Sony was praised for the whole, their quote was, "We believe in generations." That was their thing. And now, we're in 2022. There are some Xbox exclusive games that will only be releasing on the newer consoles. Starfield is one of them. And yet with PlayStation, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo, and God of War Ragnarok are all also releasing on the PlayStation 4. And a couple days ago, we just learned that Microsoft quit manufacturing Xbox Ones in 2020, and Sony is still making PlayStation 4s in 2022. So it seems like we are actually getting the opposite of what we thought we were getting. It seems like Microsoft is the one that's kind of believing more in the generations a little bit,
Well, here's the thing. They did say, we're going to keep doing this for a little while. They kept their promise, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Sony went backwards.
Yes, exactly. And
Sony didn't keep their word. That's what I'm taking from this.
Yeah. And so I'm curious to know from you guys.
Or Sony caved is what I should say.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's a good thing that and this has always happened. I mean, PlayStation 2 was still getting new games in 2010. The PS3 had been out for 4 years. I mean, some of these consoles they kind of outlive their successors, and I mean, well, they continue beyond their successors. I mean, do you guys think that's good for gaming? I mean, there's kind of pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say just real quick. I mean, the pros of it are, and with the case of the pandemic and the chip shortages, because people can't get their hands on the new consoles, it's good that games continue to release on the older ones. But of course, the games themselves can also be held back by having to exist on the older technology. But I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, if you were running a gaming studio, a video game studio, a developer studio, whatever, how would you go about making the decision of, okay, should we release this game on the previous generation of consoles or stick only to the new ones?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm a big believer in getting games to as many people as possible. That's why I love these moves to start putting things on PC. So that we're running, honestly, we don't really have exclusives much anymore, because especially Microsoft has just been putting everything on PC as well as Xbox. Sony's starting to ease up on that, bring stuff over to PC. Nintendo never will, but that's beside the point. But see, these are good things. I want to get games to as many people's hands as possible. So putting stuff on older generations is a great way to do that, right? But at the same time, they're not wrong when they say they're holding back the potential and the creativity of these developers by forcing these games to be playable on tech that's just not as powerful, that can't handle as much. I mean, look at Cyberpunk, for example, which is, we could talk about that quite a bit, but on PC, on high-end PCs and on current gen consoles, it was fine. I mean, we could be here all day talking about that the story was okay or gameplay was being uninspired or whatever, but the graphics were pretty fucking good. All the systems were really interesting. On old tech, it wasn't a game. It didn't exist.
It didn't run. It just
exactly
didn't run.
Can you imagine putting fucking something like Elden Ring on an older console? All the sheer mechanics and stuff that all the stuff that's running at the same time. I mean, Ethan, the coding side of this. I never will, but can you imagine? I mean, you were talking about Halo Infinite's
grappling
like momentum and
physics.
grappling physics. Like that alone is insane that it's even running on old gen.
Yeah,
Like
on
Yeah,
Xbox One.
no, because
imagine all the
that's gonna
stuff
be
that could be
exactly, yeah.
implemented and used if it was exclusively on this like higher end tech that can run so much
Oh
more,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I haven't looked into the specifics, but I have noticed like a pretty big jump in power from the PS4 to the PS5. Like, especially in like the cooling, because like I was playing Demon Souls earlier for a little bit, and I couldn't even hear my PS5, and
Yeah,
I had
it's
no
quiet.
headphones on. My TV was pretty quiet. There's nothing really going on in the background. I legitimately like could not hear it, and I was pretty close to the TV. So
Yeah. And
it's like I'd imagine there's a pretty big jump in like the specs. But
yeah.
the other side of that I definitely want to touch on is, at least for PlayStation, what I will say is, because of the shortages they've been having, I think it's still a good move for them to release stuff on older generations.
Yeah, their console is
Until
specifically the hard one to find.
yeah,
It,
until I feel like if I were in charge, I feel like until you know the I'm not sure how they would get this data, but I'm sure they have a way to do it. Um, until like a good majority of people have like upgraded, um, then it's probably just like not worth it, because
yeah.
if they cut off all sales for PS4, like all the new games coming out will not be playable on PS4. I think a bunch of people are going to have a big issue with that
Yeah.
because they're having a hard time finding the new gen consoles in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And you have to look at
And
to like the business perspective. I mean, you
yeah,
have, there's I think 13 million PlayStation 5s out there like in people's hands,
yeah,
and there's 110 million PlayStation 4s in
yeah,
people's hands. I mean,
exactly.
that I mean that's a lot of potential customers of buying a game.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
you
from a
have to look
business
at those
perspective, it does make
statistics.
sense.
Yeah,
But eventually you have to move on. With
exactly.
Xbox One
Yeah,
and PlayStation 4, we quit seeing Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 games, I think around 2015, 2016. About 3 years after the consoles were out, I think is around the
okay.
time we started seeing the games only be on the newer consoles. And
Yeah,
I feel like that'll be the same, with this generation as well,
hopefully.
but it could be different because of the shortages,
Yeah,
though. You never know. Things are different this go around. So
yeah,
um it'll be interesting. I mean, I think the games that are more built to run on both, they can get by. I've played Halo Infinite on an Xbox One, and it's only running at 30 frames per second instead of
The load
60,
times are
so
horrendous in my
yeah,
opinion.
and some of the textures can be, a
yeah.
little bit worse, but for the most part it's pretty much the same game. But then you look at like Cyberpunk, and it was just like
It's just
things
unplayable.
weren't loading at all, and things were broken, and that game was supposed to release in April, like 6 months prior. Imagine if it
Yeah.
had come out then. I mean, with all the
Oh
delays, they
yeah,
they still couldn't make it work. And that's Cyberpunk is a perfect example of, sometimes you get too ambitious,
Yeah.
and what would have happened if that game had been built for the PS5 and
yeah.
series consoles from the start? Would it have been a different situation?
Well,
It's
I feel like there are other factors in there too, but yeah,
Oh,
I see
oh,
what you're
there
saying.
absolutely are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the game started development in like 2014 or something like that. So, I mean, those other consoles hadn't even been thought of yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
imagine. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see just how much, or I should say just how different this generation will be going forward, to
Hmm.
see how much longer these older consoles are going to be supported, if
Yeah.
it'll match how the last generation was, or if it'll be different with the shortages.
Hmm.
Only time will tell, but it does seem like Sony is, they're still manufacturing PlayStation 4s. They're still releasing the games
Yeah.
on PlayStation 4. Microsoft, and because they have also been better at making their consoles, they're kind of already being like, all right, people on Xbox One, get ready, because it seems like 2022 is going to be the last year where you see a lot of their games be
Yeah.
released on Xbox One. And personally, I'm okay with that, also
Me
because
too.
again, they've gotten their consoles out there better. But for some people who haven't upgraded, they might be mad about it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened every generation
Yeah.
of
I
video
mean, it's
games for
gotta
so
happen.
long. It's just something you got to get used to at this point. Like the new one
Yeah.
comes out,
Yeah.
eventually the old one's not going to be supported. Same thing with
Exactly.
phones,
Yeah.
you know, and computers and other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys have anything you want to add to that, you can.
I do have one quick thing I want to bring
Yeah,
up.
go for it. Go for it.
I do think it would be a smart move from Sony. I don't. I think there's about a 0% chance they do this, but I
Yeah.
think it would be a smart move for them to start factoring in the game, like specific to the game, what like systems it's going to be on. You know,
Yeah.
like if like Cyberpunk, you know, they're not seeing good results, or maybe it's just like too much to handle, there's too many assets or something like that. I think they just need to cut it, because at the end of the day, I don't think it was worth, because I don't think a majority of people that played it on an older gen console had a good experience with the game, which hurts the
Yeah.
developers. It hurts, you know,
It got
the
removed from the PlayStation Store, and
exactly,
Sony
yeah,
had
it
to
hurts
deal
the
with all that.
companies
Yeah.
that have these older consoles still and are still like allowing the games to be released. You know, I think there needs to be like a quality check,
Hmm.
and they
Yeah.
need to start cutting games, because it might not, like they might lose out on some money, but what they lose out on in money, they're going to make up for in reputation, you know? And I think
Yeah.
We'd be
reputation
having a
goes a
very
long,
different,
long way.
yeah, we'd be having a very different perception of CDPR right now if they
Exactly.
just didn't release it on old gen consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It still probably would have been a mess of a launch. There were still
Yeah.
bugs, there were still lacking content, all this stuff, but at least it was playable.
Yeah, they would
At
have.
least
Yeah.
it was a
They
game.
would have been able to
Mhm.
salvage a lot from
Yeah.
Mhm.
If
just
they had
cutting
just
it on
said
older gen consoles, I
we're
think.
delaying the game by 6 months or whatever, like this is the last big delay. We're not going to put on the older
Yeah.
consoles. We just can't get it to run.
Yeah.
People would have been mad about that. They would have received backlash, but then the game would have come out better, and I
Exactly.
think that would have went away. And I think it could have been better for them.
Yeah.
And
And I mean,
I do hope developers start really looking at, okay, can this game run on, with the case of Halo Infinite, Microsoft
mhm,
built their engine
yeah.
specifically to be able to run on the Xbox One as well. And
Yeah.
that's why, you know, despite being graphically inferior, the game does still work on Xbox One very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And Sony does a pretty good job with that, I think, with their games as well that are on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation
Mhm.
5. But I mean, you know, some of these developers that are making a game on multiple consoles,
Mhm.
you know, these third-party developers like CDPR, it can be hard to,
Yeah.
you know, because you're making a game for Xbox One, Series S and X, PS4, PS5, and PC, and it's like
Yeah.
that's a lot of different systems that you have to get your game working on,
I
and it can be
do.
too much. So
I
at some
do think
point, yeah, you
it's
just got to cut it off.
I think it's pretty important to shift the blame away from the developers, because
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
as
yeah, no,
It's
somebody,
not
absolutely.
them.
yeah,
It's the
It's never the
executives and the people that
developers.
are.
I don't think a large majority of developers probably felt good about,
Oh yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
having that game be released on an
Hmm.
older gen console, and they knew it wasn't functioning, because there's
Yeah.
there's no way all of those bugs got past testing. There's just
Oh
no
yeah.
chance, you know, like, because there were so many people that experienced those bugs, and so there are so many different like utility, like options for like dev testing games like that, and there's just like I genuinely believe it is like 100% not possible that the developers didn't know
Yeah.
that the game was super buggy on
Who
the
was
older
playing that on
No,
the
consoles.
Xbox One and being like, "Oh, this is fine. Like,
No,
Exactly.
I
this
will.
works."
I will never blame the devs for anything in
Yeah.
any game, honestly, because they're just the ones making it. Like they're not the
Exactly.
ones
Yeah,
who
they're just doing
make
their
the
Yep.
jobs. It's
decisions, you know?
the
Yeah, it's
executives
The
all of
could
execs
have.
are
the
always the
yep.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
they could have
always
done something
just they
different.
just want the money. They don't care.
Have you guys
Like at
seen
a
some of
certain
those?
point.
Sorry, have you
Yeah.
guys seen some of those interviews with like some of the devs on Halo Infinite? You can see it
Not.
in their eyes and in their voices. They don't
Uh-huh.
like the monetization. They don't like what's
Yeah.
there. They want to
Yeah.
change it. And
Yeah.
they've been telling
But
us,
they can't.
keep telling us to change it. We'll do
Yeah.
it. We just
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
the fucking higher ups to believe us.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's why it goes back again. Our voices do matter,
Yeah, they're
especially when it comes to
important.
gaming. And that's a good thing because I know, developers make this game and they want people to like it.
Exactly.
But
They want to
if,
be proud of it.
yeah,
That's
and but
that's
Put a
the
lot of
biggest
work into
thing.
it.
Exactly. I like personally from a like a junior developer perspective, I can 100% tell you it feels so shitty to know that something isn't working and then still have to like put it out there. Like
Yeah.
it
yeah.
sucks because you put your name on it, it's like
Mhm.
I made this, and so if it's not working, then it's like, well, shit, people are gonna blame me for it. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to release it like that. I would never
Mhm.
want to release anything like that. You don't ever want to release anything when you know it's broken.
Absolutely.
It's like, for a more um what's the word? A more like critical, I can't think of the word, but a more exaggerated example.
Mhm.
Imagine if like a car company was allowed to like release their cars before they were ready. Like so
Mm.
many people would
Uh-uh.
get hurt. Like
Yeah.
it's well, yeah, but it's like because video games are viewed as this like leisurely kind of thing, developers have the higher ups have the ability to just be like, it's good enough, just like
Yeah.
put it out. I want my
Mhm.
money.
Yeah, it's not
So
a danger to someone if the
exactly.
game's not operating unless there's like some sort of like epilepsy seizure warning thing that goes terribly
Yeah.
wrong or
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that. But yeah, that's definitely not as common of a thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, hopefully, not the devs out there are doing great. But
Yeah.
executives need to listen to their devs, and if a
Get their
game's
shit
not
together.
ready,
Yeah.
don't put it out. Don't put it out. I
Yeah.
don't care what your stockholders are saying to you.
Hmm.
They might pull out their funding for you.
Should have learned their
Make it
lesson
work
by now.
anyways because the backlash is
Yeah,
not going to
it's
be worth
not
it.
worth it.
It will not be worth it. Well, guys, I have kept you here a little bit past the time, our normal cutoff time. Uh,
Oh, that's all good.
thank you for joining me on here, and
Yeah.
we'll be doing this again next week as usual.